I'm Turk Strongman at the Ranki Ramachuraka. Thank you for selecting this video on sex and power. Before I continue, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now's your chance. Do that so that then you can activate the notification bell feature and be apprised of my new uploads. You can share the joy of this channel with others starting now too. Give this video a thumb up. Lest you forget to do it later. Sex and power. What's my point of departure here? Okay, I have one. I've heard it said from the lips of someone who should know that the last thing that continues, and a Hindu said this, the last thing that continues to keep a human soul tied into this earth in reincarnation after reincarnation, the last hang-on, all other reasons for reincarnation are circumvented, bypassed, lived out, whatever. Just not having any effect anymore. The last one hanging on is sex. That's the strongest tie that we have with a physical body in this world. It's the last longing. Anyway, sex, right? The core of our energy, physical energy, right? Our energetic side. The core of it is sexual energy. Why wouldn't it be? That keeps the species going. Preservation of the species. All right. So it plays a very important role in what we do. Now, power. People in positions of power. Almost always, I think, turn out to be people in positions of sex. A lot of reasons for that. With power comes control. With control comes money. And what's the link? Money and sex? What was that link? What was that? Oh, that's right. There have always been harlots. It's a thing. It's a thing. Well, there's a link, power and sex, right? That's just one little thing. People in... I guess you've heard of some of the sexual things that people in positions of social power get involved in, right? Downright ritualistic. Yeah? Babylonian, God sakes. Magic, rites, sex. I mean, that's when the greatest energy can get transferred from a physical body to the astral world. Rape a child anally, a child who's less than 7 years old, and at the peak of its pain and fear, kill it. Well, that combination of things that makes up that event every aspect of it, maximizes the release of soul energy, sexual energy, the child's life force. Maximally, instruments every part of that to the astral plane, to entities you feed on that. So, sex and power. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to talk about it. Now, I want to talk about the behavior of some people in positions of power. Let's take a Hollywood celebrity. Silver screen idol Warren Beatty. Let's just an example, okay? Of things that I know firsthand. Dealing with Warren Beatty for 9 months, every day, 5 days a week, in my place of employment at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, Central Park South, New York City. What year is this? About 1983, maybe 1983. It was when Warren Beatty was directing the movie The Pickup Artist, starring Molly Ringwald. Warren Beatty lived at the Ritz-Carlton for the whole 9 months of the production. Now, the next to the last floor up, I think it was like the 23rd floor, 24th floor. There were 4 suites. Warren Beatty had 3 of them. Paid for all 3 the whole time. 1 was for him. 1 I heard was for guests, and a 3rd was, I don't know. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Warren Beatty's character. I'll tell you some things I observed. Right? I think the point is going to really hit home here. This is a first-hand account. I was the doorman. Warren Beatty had a car out front, taking up one of the only 2 empty spaces in front of the hotel door. 1 revolving door, narrow. 2 cars can park in front. 1 in front of the other, up against the sidewalk, That's all the wider the building was. One of those spaces, they were supposed to be both left clear. I mean, they are for arriving vehicles and departing vehicles. Personally owned vehicles, POVs, limos, people with drivers, like Warren Beatty. He had a 560 SEL Mercedes, black with tinted windows. His driver's name was Joe. Joe would wait long hours. Joe would be on duty. I don't know when he came on duty in the morning, but he would be outside the Ritz-Carlton in case Warren Beatty wanted to go somewhere. Up till, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. Maybe there was a morning guy, I don't know. But Joe was really personable. He was a good man for the job, I think. At first, he and I just chatted idly now and then when nothing else was happening out front. But we sort of developed a common understanding about Warren Beatty. Because Joe he would sometimes sit he would often sit in his car while just being on post, but about 50% of the time he'd be outside the car too, smoking a cigarette or something, And we would chat and see if Warren Beatty came in the car with Joe driving to the hotel, home. I would open the door for, I would open the rear door on my side, the hotel side. of the car. If there was a young lady, a woman, a female there, I would open the door and, take her hand, help her out, and then go around and get Warren out from the other side. If it was Warren, I would open the door, and then just, if I see that there's a woman over there, then, I don't hesitate, man. I just open the door and then go around and open the door for her. That's the way it goes. Right? Now, some people might arrive with him and have stuff with them that I carry inside. On his way out, he'd come out, if I see him coming through the lobby, if I happen to be standing where I can look inside through the front of the hotel class. If I see him coming, like with any other guest, turn the revolving door for him. Go ahead of him, open his door, car door, let him in, close the door. He received other services at the hotel for that 9 months, like room service. The breakfast room service, orders, room service, like servers, take the food to the room, He always requested females. The females, he knew who was on in the mornings each day. And he would, I was room service order taker, breakfast room service order taker. At this time that I'm talking about now, before I was a doorman, I started out room service, breakfast room service order taking on the phone. Often, 2, 3, maybe 4 people calling at once for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 3. Pretty busy. He would request to me on the phone, like Linda or Rachel. He'd know who was on duty, right? Who was on in the mornings, all right? They all hated to go up to us. I'll get back to that one later. Okay, listen. He never tipped anybody the whole 9 months. Well, Joe, the driver, he saw this, in my case, every time. At the Ritz-Carlton, just spinning the revolving door for somebody. Traditionally and standardly, that's $1 tip. That's what that costs. And you chose to stay there where these services are provided. You don't have to push that revolving door. You don't have to put your hands on that. You don't have to get lost in it. Nothing like that. It's professionally turned. It's just to match your step. All right? It's $1, man. For every suitcase or a piece of luggage that is carried. This is back in '84. Each one is $1. If there's something major, it's $5. Opening the door, the car door, another $1. Getting it right. Males, females, that's worth something. And my goodness, if somebody were to arrive with a briefcase that has a name tag on it or a piece of luggage in the trunk of the cab or the limo or the POV that has their name tag on it, and you can get a glimpse of their name. Right after you get them, open the door and then go back to the trunk and grab the stuff. Open the car door, and then you have the driver open the trunk. And you start grabbing stuff. You see a name? Oh my goodness. And then you tell the person, you say, Mr. So-and-so, or Mrs. So-and-so. We've been waiting for you. Welcome to the Ritz-Carlton. Now that's worth 10 or 20. Warren Beatty never tipped anybody anything for anything. People went out of their way to try to make him look like a king. Especially in front of other people that were his guests or whatever he was doing with them, coming or going with them. All the time. But that's the Ritz-Carlton. That's not out of the ordinary. It's also the Ritz-Carlton that you don't go there and not tip that service. That's just part of the deal. All right? So this guy considers the character, the personality the ego of this guy, right? And he was never nice. Never nice to anybody who worked there at the Ritz-Carlton. But you should never, no. When I would open his car door for him and he would come out, he wouldn't even see me. Not at all. Never. Never once. The whole time. I worked prime days and prime time hours every week. Wednesday through what? Sunday? Yeah, 3 to 11 p.m. Midtown Manhattan, Theater District, all that. Right? Good shift, man. Good shift. Well, this is when Warren Beatty would be, taking care of most of his activities that he could take care of, not on the set, I guess. All right. What he spent most of his time doing, I'll tell you. Eventually, I got to being able to talk openly with Joe about this because we had this rapport, this understanding that Warren Beatty doesn't tip anybody. And Joe and I began, we got to giving each other looks, man. Like, oh my God, that guy. And then we got to talking about something because I noticed that the majority of Joe's driving Warren Beatty somewhere involved Warren Beatty going out and then a while later, maybe 45 minutes later, returning. Joe bringing the car back and parking it, right? And I opened the door, and it was not just Warren Beatty, but there's like 2 girls. Young ones, I mean like teenagers, but the majority of them didn't look the legal age of 18. But then again, who's to say what he was coming back with them for? Maybe he's going to talk to him about an audition, huh? Oh, but maybe they were his cousins. Okay. But he did this 3 or 4 times an evening. Bring a couple or 3 back with him. Go upstairs. Maybe an hour later. Come back down. And it was either just the girls going back to wherever they came from, I guess, or all 4 of them. And if it was all 4 of them, they would come back with more. Go upstairs. I don't know. Most of them, like I said, it didn't look legalized. No. Joe and I thought it was pretty funny to rename Warren Beatty Warren Jail Beatty. Now, when you would interact with women, either in the lobby of the hotel, straight in from the revolving door, and down some steps, a couple of steps, or outside. Between the door and the car was about 25 feet. Excuse me. On the sidewalk, His manner was smooth. And when he talked to 2 women, he got in their space because he would talk very quietly and look at them in the eye and just talk very quietly, like seduction. And I could see some, that seemed to work rather well for him. Anyway, Molly Ringwald was a very nice, healthy looking, vibrant, pleasant young lady. I don't think she was 18 at the time. She looked maybe 15 or 16. She looked very young, a spring chicken for sure. Very vibrant, healthy looking, pleasant, happy, just fine. When she started to live at the Ritz-Carlton, yeah, at first. No, she lived in one of the other suites. Warren Beatty's, like she lived in one of the other two on the house. Warren Beatty. Oh, did I mention that the women who worked in the breakfast order servers, yeah, take the food. He wanted the females because every time he would open the door, if it was one of the females, with his towel on around his waist, and that's it. And, the gap kind of like right in the front. And then he would ask if they want to come in. He would ask if they'd like an extra nice tip. Every time. They didn't like that. They thought that was pretty creepy and scary and rude and presumptuous, and he kept on asking for it. He never got to a point. No. Hell no. Hell no. Persistence. Repetition. Smooth. With your dick out. There you go. Alright, Molly Ringwald, she was really nice. By the end of the whole thing, she didn't look happy. She didn't act in a pleasant manner. She didn't look vibrant. She barely looked healthy. Something dark had come over. Now, yeah, there's the wear and tear of the production. Sure. Yeah. But it takes its toll on a person who continued to stay in the business. It just didn't matter. This didn't seem right. Something else happened, too. Yeah, she was tired. I knew of Warren Beatty's assistant. She would come by now and then. She just always looked like she was in a hurry. But, she didn't look any more beat up over it at any point than at any other point. It was her job. Right? Warren Beatty didn't look beat up. Molly, a very dark countenance had come across her. And about halfway through, the whole ordeal, the 9-month thing, turns out her father and mother showed up. They showed up and they went upstairs for a while. They showed up with Warren Beatty, actually. And Molly, yeah, all four arrived at the same time. Okay. Excuse me. As far as I recall, Molly went in first. Looking troubled. Just not her, like some part of her had been stripped away. The sunny side. All right. Then Warren, as they were getting into the lobby there and toward the elevator, and Mr. and Mrs. Ringwald are getting out there. Well, the missus, I didn't notice right away that she was blind. I didn't notice it first. She seemed to have a little trouble, being able to know exactly what she was doing, or where she was going, or where she's stepping, I noticed that, but I didn't put it together yet that it was she was totally blind. Molly's father had a suit on, and I got to tell you, he looked at me for about a second as he walked past me into the door when I was coming out or something. I don't know, man, but he wouldn't let me turn the revolving door, I think. He was just rushing. He was just going on in. And he looked at me, like, he was a little shorter than me. I was a little taller. But he had his chest puffed out, and like a puffy face and little eyes that just looked at me as he went by. I noticed two things about him. One, they were like dead cold. The other, well, not just about his eyes, everything about him seemed to emanate these words: it's all business. It's all business. Right? And then he's running on past me. Then comes the missus. Right? She's the last through the door. By then I felt so disgusted. Right? I already knew what the hell had to be done. Joe and I talked about it a lot. Molly upstairs in the suite that Warren Beatty was paying for her. Oh, yeah. I guess she was one of the lucky ones who didn't get to just drop back off on Fifth Avenue an hour after being upstairs with Warren. Anyway, yeah, the girls came and went in the evenings. Every night. Warren jailbaity. Now listen. When I turned the revolving door for Molly's mother, I felt so revolted by then. I felt like I was actually just pissed off. Pissed off, man. These people. These clowns in the world. So I pushed the revolving door just a little extra hard as the missus was stepping out. So she still had one foot back. And the revolving door caught the back of her shoe and snapped the heel off. Just slid on under the door, under that section of the revolving door. No heel. And I thought, there you go. Then I noticed that Mr. Ringwald was coming back because of what had happened, and the look he gave me now was dead, cold, and everything about him just said, it's all business. He was just, whoa, man, whoa, this guy, oh my God. So they were up there for maybe an hour and a half. And then they came down. Molly stayed up there. Warren stayed up there. They got in Warren's car and drove them back to wherever they came from. But the look on the man's face was like something like, I don't know. I could imagine that look if it belonging to some very grave business transaction that just took place. Something very solemn, something very meaningful had just happened. And the missus, she looked a bit downcast. And solemn. But the mister, oh my God, like he looked like whatever took place up there, he was all in. This is the way it is. It's done. He's that look like, yep, it's happening. It's done. Whatever. Oh my God. So what was the deal? If there was a deal. Why would they come with Molly and leave her there? Be up there for a while and come down looking like that. After that, Molly grew darker and darker, in my opinion. She was pretty okay up until then. Right around that time, not that moment, but right around that time, like give or take a few weeks, she was something happened. Well, but ladies out there listening to me for a half hour now, I'm going to tell you what I saw other ladies doing with respect to Warren Beatty. It was a frequent affair. Warren Jail Beatty would come out. Either I would turn the revolving door for him, or he would just come out, right? He was going to the car, 25 feet away. And Joe's going to open the door for him. Put him in, get him in. Or I could. But everything would get halted because in the middle of the sidewalk, crossing the sidewalk, some female voice or other would scream from quite a distance away, usually down toward, 6th Avenue, and up towards 7th. Excuse me. There's a slight incline there, slight slope. Usually the BSM woman comes from that direction with her husband. This was usually the case. A middle-aged woman with her husband. They look like tourists. The woman will be, like, maybe in some cases, arm in arm with her husband, having a stroll. Seeing New York City, Broadway, good food, good show, good accommodations. And my God, the window shopping. Women would have their purse. New York women never carried a purse. So the out-of-towners, and the woman would recognize Warren Beatty the second he entered the sidewalk heading toward the car and scream from halfway down the city block, the long direction of the block. It's Warren Beatty! Oh my God! And run from their husband. Just run from them. And run straight to Warren Beatty. Straight to him. Some wouldn't even know why they did it when they got there. They would just freeze up, choke on their own words, not know any words. Others would ask for a kiss. Others would just want to look at him close. Others would hug him and jump up and down like schoolgirls. Some wanted his autograph. In every one of these cases, the screaming occurred, and it was usually a woman with a man. Like tourist, like it's probably her husband, right? We're going to go to the Big Apple, take in a show, have good dining, treat ourselves for a change in life. And my God, there's Warren Beatty. Now, the man didn't give a shit. Their men didn't give a shit. They looked a little bit bewildered in some cases as they strolled on. Well, I wonder how they would have reacted to seeing Warren Beatty if they had known what the asshole was really like. Oh, he would just get up close, look at them in the eye, and speak softly, and they would melt. They would melt. Some had trouble walking away from him and getting on with the evening stroll. It was just, oh my God, power, fame, Hollywood, celebrity, politics. Oh my God, so disgusting. I wanted you to know what I saw was just this one person. Oh, by the way, his associate, Beatty's closest associate or something like that, business associate or a producer or whatever, like worked close. It was like, I don't know what, but they were working like hand in hand for a good while. Got arrested one night about, I don't know, midnight or so, down on 14th Street in New York City. On the east side, 14th Street, at night, that time of night, was just scum. It was just, oh my God. Got arrested, standing in a little corner, a little indent where there's a door to go in a store or something, or whatever. I don't know. Billiards place. I don't know, but it was all dark, right? But a cop saw him having sex, screwing up. It would turn out to be a 14-year-old boy up the ass, outside and there up against the wall. Well, that has nothing to do with Warren Beatty. Why not even say that? Well, birds of a feather flock together. Oh, I'm sorry. I brought up the law of attraction. All right, Warren Beatty. Gave you an example. Okay. So, I have no idea why people in positions of power with their sexual deals and their pacts and their rituals and their I don't know, sexually exploiting people like crazy, especially kids in Hollywood, and they get away with it. I have no idea. What the hell is that? Imagine how the New York Police Department would have been on somebody who was acting like Warren Beatty in that hotel, if it wasn't Warren Beatty. The possibility of that is pretty good, but even just the general spirit of the question there, I hope you get it. Because that was outright obvious. What business was it of Joe's to blab about it? It's his job. It's his career. He's paid to shut up like that, Not just, not shut up, but just not talk about things like that, for God's sakes. That's his boss, man. There seems to be like this confidentiality, unspoken confidentiality contract when you're someone's driver. It's like being their doctor or their lawyer, you cannot speak of the particulars. Well, it was obvious now. How do these people keep getting away with it? And why do we let them? I tell you one thing that I know, or that I observe. a lot. People who get in the news or who are about whom, oh God, like I'm doing, telling, revealing, whatever you call that, the truth. How about this one case? Oh, what the hell am I trying to say? Oh yeah, how is it that people like that, like Warren Beatty, no matter who heard this story, no matter how many people knew, no matter whether it was in the news, whatever, YouTube videos about it, way back then, why would people to this day still want to see a movie with him in it? Still talk about what a great actor he is, without mentioning the rest. Saying things like, what an interesting person. You're so talented. People in our government. Oh, he was a good president. I didn't like him too much. I don't like his policy on this and that. Nothing about, he's a fucking child murdering, anal raping, satanic asshole. That's what he is. Why do people overlook it? Now, what the hell would make a woman run up in the street, tearing away from her husband's arm, screaming, "It's Warren Beatty," whom they know nothing about? I have no idea. Crazy, I guess. And funny. Hilarious. Pathetic! Hey. The dark force is all around us, whether or not we see it or can perceive it. Now, of course, we don't want to spend a lot of time paying much attention to that. We should place our attention on the opposite pole. That's true. And move ourselves toward it and bring it toward us. Oh, did I just bring up the law of attraction again? But we should be aware of what we're up against, because all of that is opposition to us going in the opposite direction. And it's in our faces, in many cases. And when it does, sometimes, quite often I think, most people act like it's not there. Well, don't be one of them, all right? If you like the video, give it a thumb up. 43 minutes. Gotta go. Subscribe, get notified, share the joy of the channel with others. Excuse me. Thank you for selecting this video on Sex and Power. I'm Joe Strongman. Now, go be well.